Should you marry someone with different beliefs from your own? Before I dive into the content of this video, I think it's important to define the degree of difference that I have in mind when I use that phrase. Because every relationship will have points of disagreement. And that's part of the purpose of marriage, I believe. It's to learn to sympathize with the other and to understand them. But in the case of what we're talking about in this video, it's significant differences. Like, they might be an atheist and you're a theist. They might be really conservative and you're really liberal. They might like superhero movies and you're not an 8-year-old.
Stop! Why did you say that name?
In his story, The Symposium, Plato lays out a case for what we should look for in a relationship. He tells us that we should look for someone who has qualities that we admire and want to possess ourselves. He goes on to say that couples should not love each other exactly as they are right now. He argues that we should be committed to becoming better versions of ourselves. But what if we each have incompatible ideas about what constitutes good and better? The point I take away from Plato's concept is that love transforms us into something that we currently are not. This means that the relationships that we participate in will change us from the person that we are into a version of ourselves that is more like the person that we are with, whether we want to be like them or not. And anyone with any common sense could tell you that. You see it even in basic relationships. We tend to act like the people we spend the most time with. And the more we act a certain way, the more we will become that way. So in the case of romantic relationships, I think Plato's advice would be to choose somebody that you admire, not just someone you're attracted to. Choose someone whose qualities inspire you to the degree that the thought of becoming more like them doesn't bother you. Plato says that true love is admiration. So if you can't say that you admire the person that you're infatuated with, you probably shouldn't let it move beyond that. Infatuation fades, and at some point you're gonna need something to carry the relationship into the long term. If you're a person who really knows what you're about, someone who holds to certain moral principles that guide your life, then that should be the measure of any question of admiration for other people. Do they reflect the moral conclusions that are important to you? And this is an important question because anybody worth their integrity will hold a moral standard that exceeds their ability to achieve. What I mean is, it's not admirable to base your values on what you happen to be good at. Your morals should be of such a standard that you have to aim high to achieve them. They should propel you to growth in moral maturity. And if they do, then we have to admit that it isn't going to be easy to live according to your morals because it requires you to change for the better. But if you choose to marry someone who doesn't uphold those same moral principles, then you're going to find yourself being pulled in a different direction. And not just pulled, like I said at the beginning, you can't help but be changed by the people that you spend your life with. And if they fall short of the morals that are important to you, then they're going to act like a dead weight that is consistently and persistently keeping you from moving in the direction that you've identified as the path to moral maturity. Now, where this gets really amplified is when kids get introduced to the equation. Nothing will prepare you for how much you will love your kids. I've seen people who were self-centered, egotistical, and mean-spirited, but once they have kids, their whole attitude and demeanor is changed. Once you have them, your kids can become contenders for what is most important to you in life. And if your morals aren't enough for you to pursue them with all your effort now, your kids will at least inspire you to want what is good and true for them. But that will be true for your spouse as well. And if they believe things that are fundamentally different from you, then you will end up finding yourself in a struggle for your kids' lives. And that gets ugly really fast, and nobody wins in that situation, least of all your children. I've resolved to never get a tattoo for one simple reason, which is that I don't think my future self will gratefully accept decisions I make today based on what I thought was cool today. And the evidence I have for that is that I can look back 10 years ago and look at the things that I thought were cool and important and things that I liked, and frankly, I'm embarrassed by them. I don't want a past version of myself imposing lifelong decisions based on things that I happen to like in the moment. So instead, if I'm going to make a serious decision, I make it based on my moral convictions because they describe what I aim to become, not merely what I am today. What you know to be good and true should be what informs a decision like marriage. If the person you're with contradicts those things, then it's going to be a constant struggle, and marriage is hard enough as it is. You don't need to disadvantage yourself by choosing someone who's going to diminish your resolve to live a good life. They might think that Riverdale is a good show, and you have self-respect. They might like the Hobbit movies, and you'd rather just save time by reading the book. They might think that communism is a good idea, and you might think that the starvation of millions of Ukrainians was a bad thing. They might like fast food, and you'd rather not have explosive diet. Thanks so much for watching, guys. If you enjoyed that, then please consider subscribing and liking, and come find me on Facebook and Twitter. It's a huge help when you do that. It helps us get these videos in front of more and more people. And a big thank you goes out to You Catholic for presenting these videos. And if you want to support the making of these videos, then please consider supporting my work as a digital media and marketing expert. My company, Holdsworth Design, specializes in branding, web and graphic design, marketing, social media, videography, and all that kind of good stuff. So if you know of a parish, a diocese, a ministry, or a business that needs help in those areas, then please send them our way, and I'm sure we can help them out.